spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, and aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of all people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know farmers, public servants, youth, the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. 8:38, the time in the studios of Q95 FM Radio. If you missed my message today via WhatsApp or via my social media platforms, then let me share with you now that we have been moved up, moved further in, a little more later into the night. We're almost into a late night show now, if you ask me. But yes, Q95 has made some changes in their programming, and so we've been moved to 8:30. Every show in the nights have been moved by half an hour, so we moved from 8 o'clock to 8:30. Mondays are very long days, so this half an hour push might be a little bit of a challenge, but we will see how we can make this work. I hope I can still have the same level of energy and the vibe that I need for the program. So folks, going forward, the In the Spotlight radio show now begins at 8:30 p.m. right here on Q95 FM radio. Let me know if that affects you in any way, if that's going to limit or reduce the amount of time that you can stay up with us for the program. We know we keep you, we capture your interest, we keep your interest throughout the program, but all the same. Welcome one and all, welcome listeners, welcome viewers via our social media platform. We are happy to have you. Remember, we have our In the Spotlight radio show page, which we continue to ask you to follow. And this page actually has a group. So we have the In the Spotlight radio show fans group. And we also have our YouTube channel, which is under Ferdinand F. Frampton. Subscribe, please. Let us acknowledge Q95 FM radio for allowing us to be here on a Monday nights. Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, they are the agents for Twapito Water and Barefoot Wine. Callaloo House, which provides our dinner, Callaloo House and the Great Road House. the best place for fine dining here in Dominica. And while we're on that, I just want to acknowledge Quick Delivery. Quick Delivery is assisting tonight with delivering, picking up from the Great Old House and delivering to us here at Q95. So thank you so much to the team at Quick Delivery. I also use them when I need a taxi or for whatever delivery services that I need. So thank you for that support. We want to thank Flo. Flo, thank you so much for assisting us with our data needs. Dominica News Online, Akim Lowe, Jordan Jerome, you the friends, supporters, and fans of the In the Spotlight radio show. We are so happy to be here on this Monday night for another fabulous program. We're going to have a good one tonight, and we're going to get going right away. I hope I didn't forget anyone who provides some kind of support. We appreciate each and every one of you. My guest tonight I met through my friend Idlin Harris. Idlin Harris is one of the supporters and clients of my guest's business. And so anytime it's my birthday or whatever the occasion might be, just the other day I remember just telling her how exhausted I was feeling, and I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I was just having a really light conversation with Idlin about that. And the next thing I knew, my guest was inboxing me with a gift certificate to get myself, I think it was a massage or a facial or something. I think it was a massage.
It was both.
And it was both. Yes. And I was just so grateful and so thankful for that. Idlin, if you're listening tonight, I really want you to know that I really love and appreciate you as a friend. I think you are truly, truly awesome, and I want you to know that. So that is how I met my guest for the very first time, through her business, Body Bliss Spa, when my friend Idlin introduced me with a gift certificate, and I had to redeem that. It took me some time to redeem in fact, I think it had probably even expired or was on the verge of expiring or something, and my guest was just so accommodating and said, I will honor this for you and make sure that you get what you needed. And so I've been through every location. I have experienced Picard, I've experienced Roseau, and I experienced when they were in Cocktail. I don't know if I missed out any other area that I experienced, but I've experienced each and every area. And this lady that's on this program tonight is such a sweet soul, and she doesn't know that, but my last visit to her place, the member of staff who did my massage really sang your praises. No joke about that. She really sang your praises, and you could see that she was being very, very genuine, and she spoke about the fact that you encourage them to develop themselves, to further their studies. And what really got me, by the way, before I introduce you, was you also encourage them to move on if they want to move on. Mm-hmm. And I found that very, very interesting and a bit unbelievable too, but we'll talk about that during the course of the program, because it's not that, clearly what I got is not that you do not appreciate them, it's not that you do not want them to stay with you, but you also understand that there are other things out there for them. Annastasia, aka Anna, Anselm, good evening, my dear.
Hi, Felina, good evening.
It is so nice to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be here. And this invitation has been like maybe 2 months. we had to move, but you
were accommodating me.
Yes.
You accommodated me actually for Aileen Burton.
Correct.
So this is the lady that I was referring to when I had Aileen Burton on, who was getting ready to leave. And again, she was so accommodating, no problem. But we've had this interview planned for a little while, and we're just happy to have Anna join us. Anna, we always, here on this program, get a little bit, how would I say it, into the person's business. In your case, Anna, let me allow you to say good evening first to everyone who's tuned into the program, and anyone in particular that you want to say hello to.
No one in particular that I'd like to say hello to, but I do want to say good evening to everyone tuned into In the Spotlight radio show. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Fadina. It's a pleasure to even be invited on your radio show. So I just want to say good evening.
When I discovered, when I came into the very first massage, it turned out that you did Idlin, because we did almost like, we're not a couple, but we did a couple's massage.
Yes.
Side by side, we did our massage. But you did Idlin and somebody else did me.
Correct.
But another time, when we came down to Portsmouth,
Yes.
you had another lady do my massage. She was so good. Is she still with you?
No, she's actually moved on.
Oh, but does she still do that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Yes, she does.
She does, yes.
Okay, you see, I told you. And I bet you, when this lady told her she was moving on, she was in no way upset about it. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And then you did my facial.
Correct.
You did my facial. And we spoke. And we spoke almost like we had known each other
for
a very long time. And we spoke intimately. We spoke about personal things.
Correct.
And we shared. And we found that we had a couple of things in common. And then I realized this is really an amazingly beautiful lady with such an amazing soul. And I had to say that to you, Anna. I want the world to know that's how I feel about you as an individual, as a person. That based on that conversation that we had that night, that I feel, oh my goodness, if I feel a bit down, I could call her and we could have a good conversation, and I know she could cheer me up, she could calm me down and make me feel so much better. So thank you for that again. I truly appreciated that. So let's get to know you, Anna. I've never been to your country, your country of origin. I've never been. You're gonna have to take me with you. I've not been
in December.
In December, right? So I've never been to Trinidad. Ladies and gentlemen, Anna is actually from Trinidad. And Anna, first of all, tell me about your country. We know that you all do carnival like nobody else can. You do soca like nobody else can. What else do we need to know about your country?
In Trinidad, the food, of course, is very diverse because we do have a lot of different cultural backgrounds. So the cuisine is amazing. Some would say that most dishes are a bit spicy, but not really. Not that
because
spicy.
you're accustomed to it, Anna. You're accustomed to it.
But the food is a definite plus in terms of.
And what is the food? What's your national dish? I know you're well known for roti.
There are a few options, I should say, because it depends on who you are having a conversation with. They will tell you, oh, personally, no, I don't think that pela represents our national dish. I think that it's roti, or some persons would say, I think that it's doubles, or some persons would say oil dong. So everyone has a different take on what they believe should be the national dish. Right now, I honestly can't remember what it is, because I do think that they switched it recently. But in terms of my personal favorite, I love doubles.
Doubles, yes. So for somebody who is listening and probably does not know what doubles is, Isaki doubles, do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, what is doubles?
Yes.
So doubles, so there are different aspects to doubles. Basically, it is a fried bara, okay, let me break it down further. So it is a fried dough, which is flavored, and that dough, there are two pieces of that dough. So imagine a bake, a fried bake, but just flatter, thinner, well seasoned, and in between that is curry chana. Some places, I mean, doubles has, there are now different options to doubles. Before, the traditional doubles is just curry chana with potato, maybe some cucumber, mango, and tamarind in there. But now you can get goat, you can get lamb, you can get fish, you can get jira pork. So there are a lot of variations now to an actual doubles. And you don't have to actually stop at the doubles, because you can add in a third bara and make it a triple. So So yeah, but it's a very common street food. You can see a doubles vendor on almost every corner that you turn.
Okay. Tell us a bit about your culture.
Well, in terms of Trinidad, like I said, we are very diverse. So because there are so many different ethnic backgrounds, that leads to a rich cultural diversity. We have Muslims, we have Hindus, Christians, of course, but in terms of culturally, every month I would say there is a different holiday in Trinidad celebrating a different ethnic group. So like recently there was Eid, which is a Muslim festival. But, well, I won't say festival, but it's a time of after prayer and fasting during the month of Ramadan. They then celebrate. There is also various Hindu holidays, like for instance Diwali, which signifies the triumph of light over darkness, good over evil. So there are quite a lot of different ethnicities, which has led to a rich and diverse cultural background. So it's very different from Dominica. In terms of Trinidad, it's very fast-paced. We have, I think now we're currently at 1.3 million persons, or 1.4 probably during the last census. So you do have that rich cultural diversity on island. And then of course there is Tobago, because we are a twin island state.
Yes.
So there is Trinidad and Tobago. So I would say Tobago is more like Dominica in the sense of relaxation. You visit the beach, it's a bit more mellow and relaxed.
Slower.
Correct.
Yes. And you're from Trinidad, not
Correct.
Tobago.
Correct. I'm from Trinidad.
Tell us about where you're from in Trinidad.
So actually I grew up not too far away from, well, you've never been to Trinidad.
No.
But close to the airport, but even closer than the airport is one of the largest malls in the Eastern Caribbean. One of the largest malls in the Caribbean, Trinity Mall. So Trinity Mall is basically in my backyard. So almost every day, or at least once or twice for the week, I was in that mall.
Spending money?
Yes, unfortunately.
Window shopping.
Yes. Yeah, so there is quite a lot to do, in the mall. Yes.
We're talking about where you're from.
Yes, so the area it's called Tacarigua, so it's very close to Trinity Mall.
Okay. All right. So what's it called? Say it again.
Tacarigua.
Tacarigua.
Yes.
Is the name of your area.
Correct.
So that means it's urban.
Correct.
It's an urban area.
It is.
So you didn't grow up in the country area.
No, like my father's family. So my father's side of the family, they are what you would consider country. So they are originally from Toco. So Toko would be considered more country because it's close to the beach. It's a little bit slow, relaxed, quiet compared to the urban areas.
All right. What was it like growing up in
Takariwa.
Takariwa?
Or you can say Trin City if it makes it easier.
If it makes it easier.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So Trin City is a lot easier.
Although I love to hear it. It rolls off nice on the tongue.
So growing up in Takariwa, most of my neighbors will tell you that I don't, okay, how can I put it in a nice way? They did not know, or they barely knew I existed, in the sense that I was always indoors. My sister would be the one, oh, I'm going over to the neighbor, oh, I'm going to go play with this one, oh, I'm going to go interact with this one, versus I would be more inside. When I go to school, when I come back from school, I go home and I stay home until I go back out to school. So basically I was not out that much, unless it's with my friends. But in terms of like actually going out or going to community activities, no.
Would you be considered as an introvert in that sense?
Correct.
Yes.
It's actually very strange because I am an extrovert. I'm an extrovert, but yet still an introvert. So it depends on who you have a conversation with. They would say, oh, but Anna barely spoke, or I didn't hear a word from her. But persons who would come to this spa will tell you, oh, Anna can go on and on and on and on. But outside of that, they might tell you, oh, well, no, you know, she sat down there for... I have been to parties where I went to the party not knowing anyone. Well, let's say I probably knew one person, that the person who invited me, so that's how I ended up at the party. But I would leave the party only knowing that one person. Yes. And we would not mingle.
You would just sit in a corner somewhere, or just...
Yeah, very much so. And still, even in adulthood, like now, within recent times, like within the last 2-3 months, can probably say 4 months, I have come out of my shell a bit more. In that, you know, I would go to a networking event, or I would go to a gathering and actually say, okay, I'm not leaving this gathering until I talk to 10 new persons.
You
like,
tell
that's my
to
target.
yourself.
Yes. Yes, like speaking to me, you would never think that I'm an introvert, but I am.
I know, I can
different
tell.
areas.
I can tell that you are somewhat. So people from your community would say that Anna probably didn't even exist. To some extent. To some extent.
Yes.
But Anna did exist.
Yes.
So Anna, tell me a bit about family, in terms of your parents, your siblings. What does family mean to you?
Oh, family means like quite a lot to me. It actually was one of the hardest decisions, leaving Trinidad and moving to Dominica, because it meant that I would no longer be physically there to partake in the different family gatherings, the different interactions, be there for birthdays, anniversaries. So for me, that
which one do you miss the most, not being able to be as often as you can in terms of family gatherings, Christmas?
Well, I actually, in recent times, prior to COVID, I actually began going to Trinidad for Christmas.
Is that the most
Christmas
important
Eve.
gathering to you, that you have to be with family?
No, not particularly. My husband is not into Christmas. He's not big on Christmas. And so usually Christmas is a time that we would always clash, because I would want to do the most for Christmas. Just trying to maintain some of the traditions some of the traditions growing up as a child. I would want to maintain it, or even create our own traditions. And for him, he's just not into Christmas. So trying to get him, oh, let's bake cookies, or let's bake cake, or let's do we really have to, like, do we really? So I took the decision that I wanted to go home for Christmas, just to be in that festive spirit.
So you live in Dominica?
Sorry?
You leave your husband in Dominica?
Yes.
To his boring time?
Correct.
Yes.
But he actually loves it, because he loves just being by himself and not having. Because I get so grumpy during Christmas, because I want to do, like, to really get into that festive mood, and he's just not interested.
So is it that you don't decorate your home, you don't do any of that? Because
no, like, now that I go, I actually don't. No, so I just do the basic. Not even the basic, because most times I leave on Christmas Day. So I leave on Christmas Day and then I return after the New Year.
Okay. So back to family, talking about family, and we spoke about what family means to you, and we just want to hear a bit more about your own family in Trinidad.
So I actually have one sibling.
Only one?
Yes, only one. She is younger than me, but she's younger than me, but you would think that she's older than me, because she always tries to boss me around. But my mom meant the world to me. My mom was my best friend.
You say was?
Yes. It still had speaking about her in the past tense, because she recently passed. So she passed away last year, September. So I'm still in that transitionary phase where speaking about her in the past tense is very challenging, because I still have not come to terms. Well, I can personally say I still have not come to terms with the fact that she is gone. So it's a challenge speaking about her sometimes. Yeah.
What was she like, Anna?
Very soft-spoken. Very soft-spoken. A sweetheart, very kind-hearted, my best friend. At some point in time during my teenage years, I truly began to realize how important she was. Growing up, I would say, oh, I don't like you, or I despise you. Yes, because I would want to put on my short top and my short pants and go out and hang with my friends, and I would get a solid no. And I was so upset, like, why can I not go and hang with my friends? Why can I not wear a short top? Why can I not wear on a short pants? And so that from 13 to about 18, there was that awkward phase where
teenager.
I want to be an adult, but my mom was like, no, you're still a child, so you still have to behave like a child. And so during that period, we clashed quite a lot. And then I think it was when I began college. So I was about 15, 16, thereabout. I started to realize how important she was. And I was like, wait, but she was just protecting me from the outside world. She was just trying to allow me to enjoy my childhood, and I was just in a rush to grow up. So it was then I started to say, oh, okay, like I really appreciate her. Or even in terms of the efforts that she made, in terms of the effort that my mom made, but not just my mom, because also too as well, like I have different family members growing up, they actually contributed towards my development, in terms of they would help. Let's say, for instance, I'm going back to school, who would purchase books, who would say, oh, I would cover this course, I would cover that course. So for me, it just made me realize that, hey, all of these people are helping to contribute towards my development, and yet still I am always grumpy.
You being rebellious.
Yes. Yeah, so it was at that phase or that stage where I said, hey, you know what? Yeah, you need to be a little bit more grateful. Yeah.
And to the parent who is listening now, Anna, who has a son or a daughter that they're having that type of challenge with, if that son or daughter, if for whatever reason they may be listening right now to our program, what would be your...
Well, in terms of the parents, I would say not to give up on that child. I was not, I should also point out that I was not rude. It was just that, you know, you're at that phase where you just want to be an adult.
You want to do your own thing and have your own way.
Yeah, so, you know, not to give up, because my mom did, you know, like constant talking and having those conversations, and then one day it just hit me, because my dad, like now my father and I have somewhat of a relationship, but growing up my father was, I can say, in and out. He was basically in and out, and it's through my mom. My mom was like, you know, even though he has hurt you in the past, you still need to talk to him. Like, you know, that's your one and only father. Try to mend your relationship.
Is it that he beat you or something?
No. I think he just did not take the responsibility of being a parent as serious.
So
as
emotional hurt.
So
somewhat.
Emotional, physical, like, okay, in terms of your friends, you would see your friends who, when their parents were married, you know, you would see mom and dad together. But in my family, that was not the case. It would be my mom. I would have my aunts, my uncles, my aunties. Even though my aunt in the US, she was all miles away, but she would constantly be there, like constantly talking to me, having, you know, conversations. So I had my extended family, but not so much the presence of my father.
Okay.
So he's never physically harmed me or physically or verbally said anything hurtful, but it's just growing up, he was not around. And even his siblings too as well, they were present. So like his sisters, my uncles on his side, I all have a great relationship with them. His aunties, his cousins, his brothers and sisters. So we all have a good relationship. But for him, I just think that he didn't take that role of being a dad very serious. And my mom and my dad did get pregnant young. So my mom actually had me when she was 18. So yes, so even that and all made me realize that, hey, you know, my mom could have taken the easy route and have an abortion, but still she chose to have me, knowing that coming from a Catholic background it would be frowned upon. Knowing that you are a teenager, basically, still in that teenage year, still in those teenage years, actually having a child would be frowned upon, but still she took the decision to have me regardless of what anyone told her or you know. So I think for her, the reality struck her earlier on compared to my dad, like, hey, I have somebody who is actually depending on me, compared to my dad who would be like, oh well, I know, you know your mom checking you, so it's okay.
and I'm listening to you and thinking, one of the reasons that your mom could have been so concerned about you wearing those little crop tops and you know, shorts and going out, maybe she was concerned that she didn't want her same fate to befall you in terms of getting pregnant at such a young age.
But the funny part about it is that I have always been into books, not boys. So from primary school going up, so for instance, I am extremely competitive. So in primary school, it was always a fight to be first place in class. In secondary school, it was also the same thing too as well, in terms of I would, like always strive to be the first in class. And it followed through to university, because in university I taught my program each and every single semester, and I got top student at the end of the program. So I have always been dedicated to my books and not boys. But it's just that in those years, well, for me at least, during those years you feel, hey, I'm a big woman, I'm a teenager, so I can show a little skin. But I've actually never been that interested in like having a relationship
At that time.
Even when you hear the story of my husband and I,
Which we'll hear.
yes, like my husband and I, during university, he would like ask me, can we go out, can we spend some time together? And it was a solid no. It was just a solid
no.
Continuously until the end of our program. So maybe like the last few weeks when we were winding down and getting ready for exams, then we started to talk a bit more. And then he was like, okay, when school is out, can we go out? And our first date was actually in August. So that's to show you, like, school ended in May and our first date was actually in August, and then we became officially boyfriend and girlfriend sometime in September. So it's not that I have ever been like particularly interested in having relationships, but you just want to be an adult.
You just
during
want
that
to
time.
be adult.
Correct.
And Anna, the way you speak about your mom now, what kind of relationship? So by the time you got around between 15, 18 thereabout, you started to realize what her objective was for you in terms of, the way that she wanted to guide you. Your relationship with her, how did that develop thereafter?
Well, we actually became best friends during college. And straight up to the point of her passing, we were best friends. Best friends in the sense that if I had good news, she would be the first to hear. If I had bad news, she would also be the first to hear. Any quote-unquote secret, she would also be the first to hear. So our relationship really blossomed, and I think when I left Trinidad was when we became even closer, because she was just devastated with my move, and it was really hard for her in the beginning, and so we spoke every single day. Up to now, my husband would tell you that he truly cannot understand what my mother and I had to talk about so much, because we would speak every single night, and then on Sunday it would be a marathon. So from early in the morning we would just be talking, then we would hang up the phone, and then an hour after we would talk again, and then we'll hang up, and then in the afternoon we would start back to talk again, and that's how we went for the entire week. And so my husband is like, what do you all really say to one another that much? And so that's when our relationship truly blossomed. When I moved to Dominica, and then it was at that point that I really realized how much I missed her, how much I missed her, having her around. And so we just kept really close, like we maintained that bond.
Was she ill, or was her death?
So my mom actually had a stroke in last year, February. Now, her stroke was not horrible in the sense that after she came out of the hospital, when she did her first physiotherapy session, she was actually having movement, So how a stroke works is that if you have a stroke in the left side of your brain, then your right side of your body is impacted. If you have a stroke in the right side of your brain, then the left side of your body is impacted.
I didn't know that.
And so yes, and so when she was doing physiotherapy, she actually had movement during her first therapy session in her hands and her legs. So she was able to make a fist, move her legs. But for my mom, after having a stroke, her frustration was that she just did not want to live like that. She just could not see herself, even though with the constant coaching and saying, hey, you're going to be okay. I know lots of persons who have had a stroke and they have moved on and they have been better. So you are going to, get better. But she gave up from that moment, and every day when we had a conversation, or most times I should say, when we had a conversation, she would say, you know that I'm going to die just now, prepare yourself. And I'd be like, but you had a stroke, like, relax yourself. But for her, it was just hard. Having someone to shower you, having someone to roll you over, having someone to bring food for you. You can't get up and walk and go outside. And many a times during the course of the night, because I actually kept her up because she could not sleep during the course of the night. So I was on night shift from whatever time she started to call my phone until the wee hours of the morning where she would fall asleep. And many a times, she would roll off of the bed or feel as if she wants to use the washroom and then just try to get up off of the bed and fall down. So for her mind, in her mind, she just really did not accept the fact that she had a stroke and that she could get better from the stroke. So she just gave up, and then she contracted COVID in the latter stages, and not eating, because she also stopped eating maybe like a month or maybe like about 2-3 months before COVID. So she just was not eating, she was not drinking. The only thing she was consuming was coconut water and an inshore, like once or twice. And the nurses would have to call me and say, talk to your mom, please, she's not eating. And it would be like, mom, just have something, just like a tiny bit, please. And so, but for her, just mentally, she just gave up. And even in my last conversation with her, because my mom was scheduled to move to Dominica, we were actually bringing her over to Dominica.
So you could care for your mom.
Correct. Because her thing was every day she would say, oh, I want you here, but realistically, I can't move back to Trinidad. So I told her, you can move to Dominica, and then when you're all better, you can move back to Trinidad. And we agreed, all of the family members agreed. We said, okay, fine. So we then started to make preparations for her moving to Dominica. And the last conversation that I had with her this Sunday, because she passed a Wednesday. So this Sunday when we spoke, she told me, you know that I'm not going to come to Dominica, right? So I'm like, no, why are you saying that, And she's like, no, I'm not going to make it there. I won't make it. Just trust that I won't make it, and I love you. And she was just blabbering on, and it's like, this is a little bit strange, but it was like, I just thought to myself, okay, she's just really frustrated, because she begged me a few days leading up to her death. She was actually begging me, can you please move your ticket and come earlier? Please, 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 please. But I would just say, mom, behave yourself. You're not going to die. And she would be like, I went to die just now. I'm going to die just now. I'm going to die just now. You need to come quick. And I would be like, no, you're not going to die. Relax yourself. Yeah, relax yourself. You'll be okay. It's just a few more days, because she actually passed a few days before I was expected to arrive.
So she knew what she was saying.
Correct. But in that moment, I just did not know that that was the message that she was trying to get across to me. But yeah, it was just so. I can't say it was, because it still is an interesting phase of my life. Because I still have not truly come to terms with her departure. I still pick up the phone and call her, or like attempt to call her.
Mm-hmm.
And even, you know, like recently I wrote a post on Facebook talking about depression, because persons would see you laughing, smiling, and grinning, but then deep down inside you truly don't know what it is that you are hurting, or what it is that you're feeling. And for me, I have 2,000 plus contacts on my phone, and yet still not wanting to speak to any of them. I only want to speak to that one person.
To your mother.
Yeah, and so persons telling you things like, oh, but she's in a better place, like, I'm selfish, I want her here. But if you're telling me about better place, like, you know, like, I want her here. And so it's just a unique phase for me now, where I am learning to deal with my grief, because I went through a phase where I was like questioning God. If you know me, one thing that anyone knows about me is that my belief in my Creator is strong. My bond with my Creator is strong. And I truly questioned God for quite a period of time. Like, how can you take such a good person? There are so many monsters on the face of the earth. Why such a good person? Like, why? And you know, my mom passed away young because she was 51. So it's like, why so young? And we had all of these grand plans, and here it is. It's like, why? Like, there are so many unanswered questions.
So where are you at now, Anna, in terms of dealing with your grief and accepting that your mom is gone?
I think that I am in a better phase than I was 4 months ago,
So
or
time
5
is-
months ago. Time, and the fact that I have sought professional help. So I do have a therapist, someone that I talk to, because I realized that something was wrong, especially after Christmas. For Christmas days, I just did not want to get up out of bed. I didn't want to answer the phone. People would be calling me, and I'm looking at the phone, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. But then when you go out into the public, it's like, hi, how are you? I'm good. You're good? Yes.
But
But
you're
then-
not really good.
yeah, and then when you go back home, it's like, oh gosh, like, why? And then, you know, the crying session begins. Even at my mom's funeral, or my husband found that it was super strange, because when we went to view, because of COVID, I did not see my mom for 2 years, because the borders, well, I can say a year and a half, the borders in Trinidad was closed, so I was unable to go home. So when I saw my mom, from the time that she got ill to the time of her death, like at the point of her death was the first time that I saw her since she got ill. And so when we went to view the body, I looked at her, I like just touched her quickly, and I was like, okay, let's go. And my husband looked at me strange, like, you're not crying, like you're not holding her body, like. And for me, I didn't want to remember our last embrace as one that was cold, with a cold, lifeless body. So I just preferred not to touch her. And then in terms of not breaking down, it just did not sink in for me. Even at the funeral, I shed a few tears. I was comforting everyone else, but I was just like, okay. And then after, like, when I got back to Dominica, I was like, wait, like, did I just bury my mom? And then I automatically went into this, okay, let's just work. We have work, we have things to do for work. So let's just work. And then Christmas was when I really slowed down. And Christmas was when I felt it, because it was also one of her favorite times of the year too as well. And I could not get to go home for Christmas because tickets were sold out. So that in itself also put a damper on the entire situation. And then I just realized after Christmas, like something is not right. Like you
need help.
to, yeah, because I up to that stage I still had not processed her departure. Like I still did not break down and cry to see like I had to spend a whole afternoon in bed or a whole day in bed and just no, like I still have not up to this day, but
you're getting help.
Correct.
And that's what's important, because a lot of times we go through these situations, we go through depression, we go through heartbreak, we experience different challenges in life, hurt, pain of different sorts, and we do what you do. We go out and we smile, and then we come back home and in our own little world, and we're dying deep down inside.
Sure.
But what is important is to recognize at some point I need help. I need assistance to deal with that. And you say you recognize that.
Correct.
We're now seeking that help.
Correct. And then what is important, it's not just about seeking help, but it's who you find the help from. Because many a times we will think that, oh, our best friends can give us or provide us with the best advice, but realistically our friends are not counselors, they're not psychiatrists, they're not psychologists, they can't provide that level of guidance. And even in terms of my team members too as well, because for me mental health is important, because when you're not mentally there or all right or everything is in check, everything else breaks down. And so just being aware, and often we find ourselves that we don't want to have a conversation with anyone, because, or even with anyone else, because we don't want that person to laugh us, we don't want that person to go and talk our business. So it's at that stage, you seek professional help. And so even in terms of my team members, we have a mental health program that we started it, and now we're just tweaking it a bit more in terms of they have having access to trained psychiatrist or psychologist, depending on 24/7, and then depending on what that person recommends, you can have mental health days, because realistically we're humans, we're not machines. We cannot operate constantly. We do at times fall apart, and falling apart is good. That is something that I have learned, that there's nothing wrong with falling apart. And so having that level of support is good, because it means that you're aware, you're able to deal with things.
There is another element of your life that we agreed we were going to discuss tonight, and since we're already in that realm, I hope you don't mind if we probably
that's fine.
Speak about it now, and then we have to go back now to when you met your husband and all of that exciting stuff. So Anna, you've faced some challenges, and there's one challenge in particular that you've been dealing with, and that's trying to have a baby. Tell us about that, Anna.
In terms of
where do you start?
where do I start? Yes, that is what I'm trying to figure out. But in terms of my miscarriages, so to date I have had 7 miscarriages.
7?
Yes. With my most recent being just before Mother's Day, I had a miscarriage. In the middle of a service, nonetheless, I was at the spa, and in the middle of a service I had a miscarriage. And so like I just explained to the client, hey, this is what's happening right now, we need to cut your service short. And she was like, I don't know, like, I understand, like, go.
Like, how do you know?
So I mean, before the actual miscarriage, you do have some signs in terms of stomach cramps. You do get some spotting, and then of course confirmation from the gynecologist that hey, expect it. any day soon. It may, that there's a high percentage that it's not going to be a viable pregnancy. So expect it at any point in time, and so you just know, hey, this is what's gonna happen, and you just I want to say deal with it. You just go through the phases, because there's nothing that you can do. Like my second miscarriage, it's saying it now, it sounds stupid, but in the moment I was like, oh my gosh, maybe if I close my legs tight enough, it's not good. And so, like saying it now, it's like, really? But, like in that moment, you're like, oh my gosh, like what can I do to prevent this from happening? Like, you know that it's happening and you're trying your utmost best, like, okay, what do I do? But I think what makes that phase of my life even more challenging is when persons are constantly, I don't mean to be bad, but I have a name, like it's called the Womb Watchers Association. Because sometimes you would meet persons and they'll be like, so you're not gonna have a child? When you want to have a child? Like, you and your husband married for so long, so you need to tell me you're not going to have a child. You only studying work. And it's just like, hopefully at some point, but they're not within my circle, so they won't know the challenges that I experience.
A couple of them.
Or like you would get, like even for me now, I'm at a phase where I would get pregnant and I would just not get excited, because I know, okay, by the time we go to the gynecologist and the gynecologist says, well, it's maybe 40% viable or 30% viable, you just say, well, okay. But you still try your best, you still try to eat healthy, you follow all the guidelines, you rest, you do as the gynecologist instructs, and then boom, it happens. So it's like, and then what is also hurtful to us as well is that once again, like you question why is it that something that is supposed to be so natural to a woman, I can't accomplish it? Is it that I'm broken? Does it mean that I am not going to be a good mother? But then there are so many monsters out there who have children. Why do they have children? Or you would hear persons, like I always tell persons, they would say, like telling their children, oh, you're a mistake, or you're a this, or you're a that. And it's like, no, like, appreciate that child, because you don't know that there's probably someone out there who wants to have what you have and can't have it. And persons would say, well, why don't you adopt? But we're not at that phase as yet in terms of adoption. But it's different having your own flesh and blood compared to caring for someone else's child. And I think that eventually, soon, we will reach that phase where we're going to explore adoption. Because for me, mentally and physically, happen. True, and I do believe in that, and I do believe in my Creator. But mentally and physically, for me, I'm just tired.
Yes.
Like, I am tired of the process. I'm tired of getting my hopes up and then boom.
7 times.
7 times, yes. So seven times within the course of the last 6 years. But like my gynecologist would say, we are seeing improvements, because previously I actually could not get pregnant, and now I'm actually getting pregnant, but it's just the viability of that pregnancy.
Do you know what is the cause?
We do have, or we have isolated some reasons, and partially it stems from I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
I'm with you on that. I'm right along, riding along.
So I am one of the sisters, and when I was younger, I did not see my menstrual cycle regularly. So I might get it once a year, or maybe when I do get it, I get it for like 3-4 months, and then it disappears, and then that's it. And so for me, when I was younger, it would be like, hey, you know, like, yeah, I do have my period.
So to you,
That was like, yes. But I did not understand that, okay, you know, like, I need the shedding to, in terms of my walls, there are other elements from not seeing your menstrual cycle that can have negative impacts on your body. And so for me, my walls are thin, so there is not enough cushion for the embryo to implant itself. So it implants in one phase and then it just slides right out because there is not enough cushion. Now, yes, many persons would say, oh, it's simple, just change your diet, eat more beets, eat more spinach. We have tried that, and it still has not, we still have not seen an improvement. So we are thinking at this stage that there is more to it. But for me, I don't know if I want to explore trying to even figure out why, or I just don't want it to become.
So you can get pregnant, it's just that
I can't carry.
You can't carry.
Correct. So like you would see in all of these scans, you would see where the embryo is implanted in one location, and then you see a line, and then you'd see the embryo in another spot, and then we might do another scan maybe like a few weeks on, and then you see that embryo has left that location and it's even further down. So at that stage, the gynecologist knows, well, hey, you know, it's slipping out, so it's not going to stay. So
a couple of things, Anna. How has that affected you mentally and physically as well? Because this is happening within your body, and in terms of your marriage, you know, has that impacted your marriage in any way? How does your husband deal with it?
So from the time that we met, because I knew I was diagnosed with PCOS at the age of 13. So I knew from
That's young, yeah?
Yes. So I knew from early o'clock that I had PCOS. Now, anyone who has PCOS, they will tell you when you go to a doctor, doctors explain to you, you can't get pregnant, you would see your period now and again, I can put you on medication for your cycle, you're going to get fat. That is as much information. Most doctors, that's what they will tell you back then. But I think now, a lot more doctors, because a lot of doctors are now able to say, well, hey, you know, we can do this, we can do that. But I knew from early o'clock, so I was able to have that discussion with him when I saw that, okay, you know, here's what, we are getting a little bit serious. You know, this might be a reality. Can you live with this? And my husband actually has a son. His son is 19 years old. So for him, he is a dad, but it still does not, for him, it's still a struggle. Like, I want to have a child with my wife.
Of course.
And I'm unable to. And even for us, you know, like, we would have those arguments where it's like, but why, but you know, like, let's go through all of this process and all of these rigorous tests, and let's just go, let's fly here and do this and let's do that. But for me, I'm like, I have friends who have actually been through IVF, rounds of IVF, and they were not successful. It tore their marriage apart, and I just believe if it's to be, it would happen. Notwithstanding the fact that you also do have to push or make some sort of effort. But I do pray about it, and I'm very open with him, and I tell him, you know, if you're at that stage where you feel like having another child is more important to you than our relationship, then I can respect that, and I can understand your decision to leave. You know, like, I'm not going to force you to stay if it is that you've gotten to this stage where, hey, I really want another child. Like, I really want to be like in that phase or in that element. And we have those discussions, we chuckle about it, we talk about it. And of course, like during the pregnancy moments, we're happy, he's all on board. If I say, oh, rub my back, I get the back rub. If I say rub my foot, I get a foot rub. If I say, like, if I decide 12 o'clock in the night, oh, I want chocolate ice cream. Okay, yes. But if I'm not pregnant and I say 12 o'clock in the night, I want chocolate ice cream. Chocolate ice cream! Leave my bed to go. So you do see those periods of happiness for him.
Yes.
And then there is that period of sadness where we have to go through. But not taken away, because yes, I am the one who actually experiences the miscarriage. But also for him too as well, it is a challenge, like, hey, like, what's happening? Like one day, and it's how a miscarriage happens. Like, you can wake up in the morning, you're okay, you're fine, and then poof, by lunchtime, that's it. And then the following day you wake up, hey, no more symptoms, no more fatigue, no more backache. All of your symptoms are just gone. Like, that's it. Yeah, it just disappears. And every time I have a miscarriage, it feels for me as if a part of me is lost. I feel as if a part of me, and each and every single miscarriage that I've had, like, you wonder, was it a boy, was it a girl, like, what would that child look like? And even in some cases, I have friends or relatives who their children are close in age to what would have potentially been
one of your children.
And so, like, for instance, like my nephew on my husband's side, it's really hard for me to play with him or even interact with him at times, because he is 3 months older than what my daughter would have been. So my husband's brother, girlfriend, and I were pregnant around the same time. And so it's really hard for me to interact with him, and sometimes it just hits you at the weirdest point, because, like, I remember I was in Miami at a time shopping, and I just went into a clothing store, and I got to the children's section, and I just broke down and cried. And the ladies were like, "You okay?" And they were like, "Okay." And everybody's fanning you and bringing water. "You're okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, "Where did that come out from?" Yeah. So I do have those moments. Yeah, where you wonder, hey. And then I do have friends who they have been through similar situations, and they're able to, or at some point or at some phase, they're able to have children. I know a friend, she was going through a similar situation, and now she actually has 3.
Wow.
So
sometimes do you feel a little envious?
At times, yes. But then I strongly believe that I always love to say that life is a puzzle, and your creator gives you pieces every second. And so I don't know exactly what is going to happen 5 years down the road. Who knows? Maybe I might have triplets or quadruplets.
Exactly.
So like you just don't know. But the only thing that you can do is hold the faith and believe that, hey, God has a plan. Or even accepting that, hey, maybe I wasn't meant to actually give birth to children of my own. Maybe I was meant to intervene in another child's life, or maybe I was meant to, be an awesome mom to someone else. So you never know, and the most you can just do is just hold the faith and just believe.
What is the furthest along you've gotten?
To my second trimester.
To your second trimester?
Yes.
So that would be what, 6 months?
No, like early second trimester, so like 3 months. 3 months thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
In terms of, I know you just mentioned that you had the experience while you were in the mall shopping, you got into the children's store, and you basically got depressed a bit. And what has that done to you mentally? And are you doing something about that as well? Is that part of the therapies that you're seeing?
No, actually, we don't talk about that.
No?
No. Mm-mm. Like, even I would have one or, okay, what I strongly believe, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not posting my personal business on social media, or I'm not posting on, I won't tell persons my personal situations. But many a time, sometimes, situations that you have been through can actually help someone else. Like when I posted about depression, the amount of persons that reached out to me and said, hey, Anna, like I have been through, I am still going through depression, like, but I have no one to talk to because no one can relate to what I'm going through. Just the other day, I spoke to a client and I was like, why are you so sad? And she's like, oh, like I'm going through a little rough patch. So I was like, well, just hold the faith and believe that, things would be okay and all right. And then she just burst out crying and she was like, I had a miscarriage and I just don't understand why. And I'm like, I understand and I feel you. And she was like, well, how can you tell me that you understand? Like you don't. And I'm like, sis, I've had 7. And she was like, really? And then it just so happened that night, she was like, Anna, I can talk to you. And she's like, please, let's just talk. And, she started to talk. And it was in that period that I realized that, hey, me just telling her that everything happens in life, we don't understand why, but you just have to believe. And if it is something that, like you and your partner really want, y'all can either choose to go through the different avenues, or you can speak about it, and I'm not an expert, but for her, just being able to connect with someone on that topic, because none of her friends have been through a similar situation, so they don't understand, like exactly what happened. And I told her yes, and she was like, and it was so embarrassing. I'm just there bleeding all over the place.
Oh my goodness.
And so I told her yes, like I can understand, I can relate, I can, and so it just sometimes allows you to have discussions with persons, because we truly never know who is hurting or what type of hurt they're going through. So it just means just to be nice to anyone at any point in time.
And I think Anna, not many persons would be brave enough to share with us like that, on that level, and to do so honestly and so openly in terms of your experiences, and to some extent even doing it with a smile on your face, so I know that many persons are appreciating this conversation here tonight. I am certainly appreciating the conversation, and I thank you for being so open and honest with us about your experiences. And I know everyone who's probably tuned in and listening to the program are saying, this lady is such an amazing lady that all we want to do is wish you the best. And like you said, if it's something that's meant to be, it will be. You said that you're very strong in your faith and in your belief in God. And if God decides, and when He decides that it's time for this to happen and stick for you, beyond the first trimester, then it will happen.
Yes.
And it's good that you've come to terms with that. You've come to terms with the fact, and don't stop trying, Anna. I would say don't stop. I mean, I've not walked that mile in your shoe, but I think God is saying to you, my child, I will take care of you. And as you said, if it's meant to happen, it will. If it is not meant to happen, then at this point in your life, you've not yet gotten to the point where you've given up, have you?
No, I mean, okay, I won't say that, But I won't say what just came to mind. But no, I mean, you give how do we give up? Like once we like still together, it's just gonna happen. Yeah. So no, but no, we haven't given up.
Good. Thank God for that. Anna, I'm going to allow you to have a sip of water. Compliments Twapito water. And we want to say thank you to Quick Delivery. So they did, in fact, deliver our dinner from the Great Old House. So Anna will have a dinner. I'll have my dinner tonight. So thank you so much for that. We're just going to do this and come right back.
In the spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominica life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominica. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
One-on-one with interesting personalities, educational and informative topics and issues, intriguing and entertaining. A must listen to. In the Spotlight, Monday nights from 8 p.m. on Q95.
All right, just a message there for you from one of the fans of the show, and it's a gentleman actually, and he says, Fedina, tell this lady God will make a way. And since she's married, I declare a baby on her womb tonight. And when she goes home, sing with her husband tonight. And I encourage her to read 1 Samuel chapter 1, time after time. If she does so, she will be blessed. I want her to know Hannah was bare and God granted her petition. Hannah was barren, and God granted her petition. Regina Walsh is also tuned into the program, and she wanted you to know that she is, she's been there, and that she told you that you lost children and she lost her husband. And she just wanted you to know that she can relate to how you're feeling tonight. Yes. In the Spotlight radio show, our guest tonight, in case you're just tuning in, is Annastasia Anselm. And Annastasia has had me tonight just with my hand under my chin, just listening, just watching and listening to every single word that she has been sharing with us on the program tonight. And I really feel a blessing having Anna on the program, and there are some persons sharing some comments as well on the live, and we're just grateful to have you share your story, and again to be so brave about it and to share it with us, even still now with a smile on your face. But Anna, we're going to some happier times. And you spoke about your days growing up in Trinidad, and let us talk about your days at school. You're a very educated young lady, so let us talk about your education journey, and I understand the journey that actually led you to meeting your husband.
So yeah, but it's actually funny because what I studied at university is no longer, well, there's still elements, but I did do hospitality and tourism management in university.
What university?
At UWE
UWE.
in St. Augustine, so
Okay.
UWE St. Augustine campus. And right now I'm not directly in the hospitality and industry field.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so and I actually, when I started off, I actually wanted to be a chef, and then I switched my mind really quick when I sat down and I was like, wait a second. I love to cook because I taught the Caribbean that year in CXC for food and nutrition. So I really do love to cook. And I was like, well, wait a second.
You taught the Caribbean.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You go, girl.
And I was like, but I cannot fry plantain without jumping back once the oil starts to splash. So I know, burns on my hand. It's a no.
Not for you.
No. So I quickly changed my mind about being a chef, and so I was like, okay, well, I am passionate about meeting persons and interacting with persons, and so that's what drew me to hospitality and tourism. And my husband and I met in university. We were actually in the same class, and in the beginning, I don't think my husband really liked me much.
You don't think he liked you much?
No, because I was one of those students always sitting in the front, would always read chapters before the actual class. So when the teacher is explaining, I would already know and be rattling off, and it would just be like, oh gosh, she and her crew. Because there was a group of us that we would always come together for group projects, and we shared. We had similarities in terms of our goals, our aims. We all wanted to be excellent, and so we would always read chapters ahead of the class, and my husband would be like, oh gosh, you and that group. And my husband would be in the middle or in the back with the talkative crew, like they're always talking. But then when it comes down to exam, they're cramming, and like they get their act together closer to exam. But we were always a few steps ahead. So I don't really think that he liked me that much in the beginning, and then I guess I just kind of grew on him after a while in terms of our interactions. And
were you friends though?
Barely. Like, for me, during school, I was working. I was working full time. Working at a restaurant full time as a waitress. Then also too as well, I was also doing internships at different organizations, just so that when I graduated, I would be ahead. So like, for instance, when I graduated from university, my friends got entry-level jobs, but I actually began at management.
Oh.
So I began as a project manager at a group of companies. So I was able to start in a management position because I had that much experience. So for me, really having time to spend time with boys just was not on the agenda. It was like work, school, volunteer where I could. Yes, volunteer wherever I could. And then just stay focused on graduating, and that was it. So it's not really until coming down closer to the end of university we really began to talk. And then, like I said, we went out a few times, and then we were like,
he invited you out.
Yes. And we were like, hey, there's something here, let's explore it. And then he stayed in Trinidad for about 2 years after university.
So he was also doing hospitality?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes, so we were in the same class. And then after university, he stayed in Trinidad for about 2 years. And then he decided that he wanted to come back to Dominica, and so I was like, well, I'm coming too.
Oh,
And I quickly packed up my bags, and he came in.
you were in love, Anna.
He came. I can't remember what month he came, and then I came in April. But the thing is, I knew Dominica because one of my really good friends, I met her in college, Odile. So Odile and
Odile Baptist.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Odile, good evening. I suspect you're tuned in because she's a fan of the program.
Yeah, so Odile and I are actually really good friends. So during college, I vacationed. I came to Dominica quite a few times prior to moving to Dominica. So I
Okay.
knew what I was getting into. Like I would always tell persons, I knew Dominica when the road to between Roseau to Portsmouth was not paved. It was not paved. So I've been to Dominica quite a few times before I moved. So I knew what I was getting into, and then yeah, I've been here for 11 years.
11 years.
Yes,
But it was also hard, as you indicated before, leaving.
Correct.
While you wanted to leave to come with your partner,
Mhm.
it was also hard leaving home.
Correct, because it's like, okay, home is all I have known for so many years, and then it's like, do you take the risk starting a new life with this person, and then you have so many challenges? And for me, my family is my support system. My family, without a doubt, cheer me on. They're my biggest critics and they're my biggest fans in the same breath. They do not hesitate to whip me in line when, you know, so it's like that comfort of my family. Do I really want to leave that? And so
So it was
you know, that in
mixed
a sense.
emotions,
Correct.
mixed feelings, making that decision.
Correct.
But you followed your man.
Yes.
And you came to Dominica. So you get to Dominica and what?
So actually, before I moved to Dominica, I was already in contact with Mr. Nassif, so Gregor Nassif from Secret B. So we were in contact, and it actually is funny because my old boss in Trinidad and Gregor are actually related. And so I told them, well, hey, you know, I'm moving to Dominica, and I saw that you have a hotel. I would, you know, like to work at your hotel. And then when I
So
got
you
to
offer
Dominica-
yourself.
Yes.
You offer yourself. You want to work at the man's hotel.
And so when I got to Dominica, we met maybe like 2 days after I arrived, and then after our interview, within a week, he messaged me and told me, you know, like I got the job.
He
Less
messaged you
than a week.
directly.
Yeah, less than a week.
Yes.
You know, like he called me and told me that I got the job.
What
and
was the
he
job?
would- so at that time, I was assistant GM. So we had a Jamaican. Yes. Chris was a Jamaican at that stage. And then when Chris left, Marvin and I were the managers, but management was split in terms of Marvin was responsible for security and maintenance, and then I was responsible for housekeeping, food and beverage, guest services, and marketing. And so that's how we went on for a few years. After a while, I just decided that I wanted something different, like something in me just, I was like, okay, yeah, like this is, I want to close this chapter of my life. And so one of my friends was actually selling spa equipment, and she was like, hey, do you know anybody who wants to buy spa equipment? And I was like, oh, well, I do. Yes. But I had actually left Secret Bay already, because when I left Secret Bay...
So did you leave Secret Bay knowing what you were going to do?
No, I had no clue. And that in itself was a scary part, because when I left Secret Bay, I went home for a bit. just for, I think I went home for like two months, just to chill, spend time with my family, because I had not seen them in a few years. Well, in terms of the vacations would have been shorter, so we spent quite a lot of time together that visit. And then I freelanced a bit, did some work for different businesses. And then I started up a company which is still in operation. So it's called ACT Business Solutions. So ACT Business Solutions, what we were doing was actually housekeeping services for students at Ross University. And then after that we evolved to businesses. And now ACT Business Solutions is actually, we do cleaning for businesses, so for commercial purposes, and then also too as well there is an international side of ACT. So we have virtual assistant services in America, Canada, Belize, Brazil, where also to as well Trinidad. So we do other services for clients. So we do graphic designing, and locally in Dominica we do cleaning for commercial companies. Then my friend decided, hey, I want to sell some spa equipment. Do you know anyone? So I was like, yes, me. So I purchased all of her spa equipment, and I had persons that were actually in the business, but I quickly realized that was not how I wanted the business to operate. So I did some training, I learned the various services that we were offering, and so I started to actually work in the business
yourself.
Correct.
So apart from managing, you wanted to get the hands-on.
Correct. Like I actually wanted to know. So if a therapist would tell me, oh Anna, this does not make sense, I just have to take their word for it. Like I didn't know any better. So for me, I actually wanted to know and know how to improve on my business. So that's how I started in the spa industry. After Body Bliss, it has always been a passion of mine to have an area where guys can relax, enjoy the same services without feeling intimidated or feeling, hey, like, oh, I'm in a girly spot, where guys can just be guys and relax. And so that is how the Cave was born. So the Cave is actually a barbershop combined with a spa. So that's the Cave. But in between the Cave starting up, I also started Body Bliss LLC, which is a skincare line, and that is based in the US. So our products are going to be available on Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, Whole Foods store, CVS. So in terms of any major distributor,
that's huge,
products
Anna.
are going to be available. And then I still didn't stop there. So I have ACT, which is the parent company for the Nubian Connection. So the Nubian Connection is an African t-shirt company based in the US. And the Nubian Connection, we officially have not launched as yet. We're still in the process of getting a few things in order. But it's going to be about African t-shirt designs and also talks about African jewelry. And I can say this one I'm very, very passionate about. I have Body Bliss Snacks LLC. So Body Bliss Snacks. So Body Bliss Snacks is also based in the US too as well. And we are currently in research and development phase, where we are looking at producing 4 snacks. So hopefully we're looking at, in terms of a launch date for Body Bliss Snacks, we're looking at the end of the year. We should have the sufficient FDA approval and everything down pack. And so Body Bliss Snacks will be sold in the US and in Canada.
Body Bliss snacks.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're doing the snacks under the Body Bliss brand.
Correct.
And it's actual snacks that we eat, or is
Correct.
it stuff for your body?
No. So it's going to be chocolate potato chips, a protein shake, but it's all healthy versions. So every business that I have ever started has come from a passion, because I also have Simple Farms. Simple Farms was actually based in Dominica, but we are now relocating Simple Farms to Trinidad, just from a logistical standpoint in terms of us being able to export our products. So Simple Farms, what we do is we build hydroponic systems for farmers. We also come up with creative designs in terms of items that farmers have on their farm that we can convert into something useful for them. So Simple Farms was based in Dominica up until recently, but I am in the process of restructuring some of my businesses. So Simple Farms is now going to be located in Trinidad, and the Cave Barbershop week before last, I made the announcement that the Cave Barbershop is going to be temporarily closed, because there are a few things that I need to work out in terms of the guest experience. There are a few things that I were not happy about, so that I have put on pause until I can figure those things out, and then we would reopen. So I do have a few businesses, and some of them right now I'm in the process of streamlining their operations so that it makes it a bit more efficient and effective.
You should feel very proud of yourself. And what role does your husband play in all of this?
Now, he would tell you that he is consultant to all businesses. Because I think apart from being the consultant, he has to also listen to my stories, listen to my wild, crazy ideas, and sometimes pull me back down to reality, because I would be like, oh, I have an idea, let's go with it. And then he'll be like, you have so much on your plate already, relax yourself. Like, just
have you thought about this? Do you know what's going to happen if you do this?
So sometimes he gives me a reality check when I go off on a tantrum in terms of businesses and what's next. But now I'm doing a lot better, because I have a few coaches that I work with, that's based in the US, and then also too as well locally. Luana from Finance Focus has been an absolute heaven sent.
Finance Focus,
from Finance Focus, because prior to a few months, I would always be under the impression that, maybe good customer service, a good product or a good service, or a good marketing strategy is the only thing for your business to be effective or efficient. When truth and in fact, knowing your numbers play an even bigger role. If you don't understand your numbers, then it's just consider that you've already failed. You've already failed in business. And even apart from knowing your numbers, it's also being able to understand trends, forecast, knowing, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that, being able to be on top of the ball. So you have to understand your finances. And I learned that understanding your finances is important. And even as an entrepreneur, just understanding, or a university graduate, I think when my businesses really began to blossom was when I accepted the fact that even though I am a university graduate with an honors degree, I do not know all the answers, and I do need help. And it's when I started to search for that help that I really understand that, hey, I was just out here just killing myself out and there are easier ways to get things done. Or something that may not be my field. I hire somebody who's better than me to do that task. So I don't have to spend 20 hours looking at a marketing plan and then wondering, hey, how do you operate TikTok? How do I answer this message on TikTok?
Yes.
You know, I have a team member right now. She is like a social media whiz. I would just tell her, hey, you know, like we need to amp up our social media, and she'll be like, oh, okay, and she's finished. This is me. That would take me hours to even figure out. So you know, so it's actually understanding that you cannot, as an entrepreneur, you cannot do everything in your business. You do not, or you won't be able to know everything in your business, and so that's when you seek help.
And you listen and
Correct.
act accordingly.
Correct. And in the different areas, I always try to get somebody who is better than me in that specific field, because if I know more than you, then what is the purpose of
paying your money to come help me?
Correct.
You know?
So you know, like I have for my companies in the US, I have a social media strategist who is all the way in the Philippines, and she's actually super. Like she would just be bap, 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 and she knocks something up, and I'm like,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
So it's just knowing that different persons have different expertise, and when you bring in all of those expertise into your business, then you truly see your business blossoming.
Anna, at the beginning of the program, I made note of one time that I was having a massage done, and that particular masseuse was speaking so highly of you, and I want to know if she was probably overselling you because you know she spoke about you assisting with their education, assisting with their own plans, encouraging them to move on, even start their own businesses. How?
No, but many of my team members, I mean across my businesses, many of my team members, I have actually, so far I have 8 team members across my businesses who actually have side businesses of their own that I worked with them on developing.
And you encourage that?
I encourage them because truly, or just truly, you, for me, it's not about, it's about me having a positive impact on your life. I completely understand that depending on the day that you speak to a particular team member, I may be the villain, I may be the superhero.
Yes.
I get that, I accept that, I understand that. But it's about you being in a better position, and it's what suits you, and you are only with me for a period, for a time in your life. It's only a phase, and you need to be able to go out there and do for yourselves. And realistically, like right now, once again, we started a program with Finance Focus in terms of the team members learning about budgeting, about finance, about loans, about starting a side business. How do you plan for it? How do you budget for it? So sometimes we have, at least once a quarter, we try to have personal development activities where they are able to learn more. Like right now, we're focusing on investment. So they are now looking into the world of investment. How do you make an investment? How do you invest in yourself? They have made or I have connected them with some of my persons in the US that I network with, and they now spend time with them. Hey, let me help you out with this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's just about them being able to grow. It's not about me taking from you. It's about me being able to help you to grow, and whatever form or shape or fashion that might take, I'm perfectly fine with it.
But that's very unselfish of you, because someone else might say, if I teach you how to do this, or if I help you to do that, it means you're going to open your own business and compete with me.
There are many, let's just take bread for an example. there are many bakeries out there, and yet still more bakeries are going to come up, right? How can you stop that? How can you as a business person stop that? No, you can't supply all of Dominica with bread as a bakery, because not everyone is going to like your taste bread. You might say, well, okay, you know, here's what I want to put more butter in my bread, and maybe health conscious person might say, I don't want extra butter in my bread, I just want my bread plain, dry and hard. And then you just realize that, okay, then that's not my clientele. You can never be everyone's cup of tea. And so even if that team member goes out and open up their own venture within the same arena, that's okay, because their clientele and my clientele would eventually be two different clientele. And even if they leave with some of my clientele, maybe that person might like them and say, well, hey, you know, I'm going to this person's business. Then guess what? Somebody else is going to come towards me. Like, at the end of the day, once it is that you understand and you're sure about yourself, and you know that the only person who can dim your light is your creator, your life is just completely different. Things just take a different meaning, a different role. You just understand that, hey, you can either leave a mark on this planet, whether it's positive or negative, or you can just be forgotten when you die.
And then my last guest last week spoke about walking in the spirit of abundance, and that's exactly what she was talking about in terms of there's room for everyone.
Correct.
There is room for everyone, and just like you said, if you're already making ice pop, and I'm going to get into the business of ice pop, then I have to think of what I can do differently from what you're making to make mine more attractive, you know. So there is room, and it's really nice to hear you speak about it in that way. But there is room for everyone, you know, and for everyone to make a living.
And who's to say, maybe 6 months down the road, I might just decide, well, hey, you know what? This is not my passion, this is not my calling anymore, and do something different, right? But I mean, who am I to limit someone and tell them no, that they cannot, compared to actually being able to help that person to grow? For me, it's about giving. Like, you give of yourself, you give, you know, being able to help that person to grow and see their own potential. Because for me to get to the stage that I am now, it took a lot, because I had to work on myself as an individual, and I had to work on myself. Apart from working on myself, I had to also work on other elements. And now that I'm at that stage or this phase, I want people to know that, hey, it's possible. Because quite often, you know, like, I would hear a person saying, me, I can never own a business, or no, I would never amount to anything. And it's like, sis, you truly think that God put you on the face of this planet Earth for you to be mediocre? Like, really? You really think that God put you on this earth for you to be mediocre? Being great, it takes a bit of time, it takes a bit of work, but are you willing to put in the effort? Are you willing to put in the time? Because when persons hear my routine, they're like, really? Like, no, my bed too sweet, or, you know. But I put in the effort, and now as I'm putting in the effort, I see the growth, I see the changes,
you see the results.
Yeah, in the different areas of my life. And when I tell persons that by age 40 I want to retire, persons are like, you want to retire so early? Like, why not? Why not? Why can I not retire at age 40 or even earlier if I meet my targets? Right? So you want persons to be able to understand that there is more out there for them. And despite your background or where you are currently, that does not dictate your future. Once you put in the time, once you put in the effort, yes, life will always be life. There would always be obstacles, there would always be situations, you would always have trials and tribulations, but you have to put in the work. And once you put in that work, you're going to see the results. It might not come 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, it might come when you least expect it. But the thing is, you just continue to put in the work, and eventually you'll get there.
You'll get there. Before we get ready to start wrapping up things, and for those of you who tuned in a little late to the program, our start time has changed from 8:30 now. We go from 8:30 to 10:30, and this is as per some changes, made by the management here at Q95 FM. So I hope that you've been able to stick with us until this time. I want to just talk quickly, Anna, about the Body Bliss Spa experience. I noticed that one of the times, on 2 occasions, I think, my last 2 birthdays, Idlin gave me gift certificates, and there was always the offer of a glass of wine and a cake. Why do you feel it's important to go that extra mile for your customers?
For us, we want persons to celebrate life, celebrate. Well, me personally, I love birthdays. Let's just get that out there. My birthday is a big thing. Any year, any number. But we truly want persons to be able to celebrate, celebrate with us. We celebrate with our clients in terms of their achievements. I don't want to say we're there for them to console them in their times of grief. So we don't want just for you to come, have a service and then go. It's about creating that bond, that connection, that hey, you are now a member of our family. We consider you as family. So it's just about making the experience unique and different. And we do have quite a lot more in store because right now, like I said, we are in the process of streamlining and redefining the guest experience. And so we do have some new things that are going to be in store over the next few months.
Okay. Anna, wow, what a program tonight with you, again, still thinking about some of what you shared, the experience with your mom, your mom's passing. How does someone deal with 7 miscarriages? And here you are sitting with us tonight sharing that story. What can we leave tonight with from you, Anna, in terms of your life experiences, the challenges, but the successes, because you've had some successes as well. So what do you leave us with tonight?
There's so many different lessons. But I think that the biggest one of all is, for me personally, never be afraid to do anything. Never be afraid to put yourself out there. For me, how I view failure for me is being in the same position that I was a week ago, a day ago, a month ago, a year ago, compared to trying something new and figuring out, okay, yeah, I can tweak this or I can make this work. So it all depends on how you view failure. You have to also to as well understand you are everything that you need to succeed is within you. Your biggest competitor is yourself. There is no one else that can dim your light but your creator. And once it is that you trust and you believe in yourself, but even trusting and believing in yourself comes with work, because that imposter syndrome is it's serious, and it can have you seriously doubting yourself. Getting over limiting factors too as well was also quite a journey for me. It was really interesting. Just learning to accept even something as simple as growing up, I hated my nose. I found my nose was too big. I was always the darkest child in class, and I hated the color of my skin. And waking up and you'll be like, why can I not be white? Why can I not have a smaller nose? Why? And just learning. And now I love myself so much so that I have dived into my history and my heritage and my culture so much so that I actually want to open, or I'm in the process of opening a business that's based on that. And so you have to understand that, hey, it's a process. Once you put the work in, you are going to see the results. It might not come as quickly as you want it to, but it is going to come.
Patience,
Correct.
patience. 10:30 is the time in the studios here at Q95, and we are ready to wrap things up on the program for tonight. A big, huge thank you to you, Anna. I thought you were such an inspiration tonight.
Thank you for having
And
me.
yeah, man, and you shared again, so openly, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I could give you that platform as well tonight to share with us. We love having you in Dominica. I hope you have your Dominican passport by now. Not yet.
No.
Anna, you need to get your Dominican passport, please. And just confirm for us, as it is right now, is Dominica going to continue to be home?
Yes.
Dominica is going to continue to be home. Anastasia, Anselm, thank you so much. You were an amazing guest. I'm just going to give you a final opportunity to say goodbye to everyone. And some final comments.
No, but thank you so much, Benigna, for actually having me. It's very unusual that I actually do appearances like these.
Really?
Yes.
Aww.
Yes. This is my second locally, but I have done maybe like 6 or 7 internationally in terms of podcasts for my different businesses in the US. But I'm trying, really trying. But I just really wanted to ensure that before I speak to people, that I myself personally had my foundation in place, because it's not a chicken coop that I'm building.
That's right.
It's something that I'm building for the future generations to have and to be able to continue on with the legacy. So now that I'm in a better position, now I can appear and have chats and discussions. So thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
It was my absolute pleasure as well. You were simply awesome. As we wrap it up here, just want to say thank you to Quick Delivery and to the Great Old House for providing us with dinner tonight. And I wish you a safe journey home, because you're going all the way down to Portsmouth tonight. Safe journey home, but your husband is going to make sure that you get home safely. So thank you again to everyone. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the program tonight. It was really, really, really a great program, and I enjoyed it immensely. I hope you did too. And I hope that you were not only inspired, but motivated as well with Anna's story. Next Monday, God willing, we should be back here for another program. Until then, have a good night, and thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to
Thank you so much for having me.
That was so wonderful.